Welcome to D&D. Oh, did you say something?
Oh, you're fine. I'm just silently pulling up my character sheet because I just realized. I don't have a character sheet. Fuck. Never mind.
I need to send you. Well, yeah, I have your stats. We're probably not gonna roll too much today anyway, so it'll be okay. Probably next time I'll get you like some maps and character sheets, and then we'll have those. I was gonna like send those out today, and then I was like, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'll send those out like tomorrow.
That makes sense. We're cool then.
Yeah, don't want to drive like all that way. Gotta use the postage. Pretty close, but let's see. Okay, so yeah, we'll do this recap here that I got for you, Cassie. Okay. So yeah, in the river kingdom of Riversdale, where you were raised by, your royal family in a modest estate, there has been much turmoil in recent years. A mysterious elven raid left the land without a king, and you with one less father to love you. King Leonard still visits you in horrible dreams where you see him as a prisoner in a dungeon. A new king is crowned. Shortly afterwards, of course, the beloved Duke and your dearest dad, Raymond, became the ruler, and even he dreamed of a day when his heart's true king, uh, Leonard, would somehow be returned to him, although his body was never found. This land is ruled over, in turn, by the High King of all Farleon, in the neighboring kingdom of the Pale, which you've learned about in your geography classes and political classes. In some time has passed, about a year and a half at this point, so you're a bit older. So yeah, Cassandra has had many adventures, though, back in her youth, playing in the woods with the Tanner boy, discovering the strange and ominous mysteries of magic that bubble within you. You have learned much in your years of seclusion and study about the Church of the Second Word and the great war between the elves and Farleon. You also learned of a magic potion and a strange scroll, but you were unable to gather some of the necessary ingredients from the local herbalist you spoke with after sneaking out one day. As time passes, though, your mother looks after you more in the following year. She is, well, your father, your daddy, as it were, is consumed with other business, being the reigning king. So your primary parental figure becomes your mother for this time. They're dealing with the increasing difficulties of the state. Peasants are underperforming, harvests are poor. People across the lands have heard rumors, and you've heard rumors of like fear and sickness among the peasants. So yeah, it's like the year is 1233, and you're basically coming of age. You actually came of age, but you're not presented yet. So really, the first interaction we want to do. I mean, you live here, so you can do anything you want. But if you want to do anything else, you can. Otherwise, you can talk to your mom briefly.
How old is Cassie right now?
So, how old were you in the last one?
Like, I think
14.
12.
So now you're like, oh, you're
12. I think we're like 12 to between 12 and 14.
So I think actually in the first episode you were 12, and then in the lore episode you were like 14. So now you're like almost 16.
Okay, so like almost 16.
Is that the age that you want to be?
For like
what
the
age
official
do you want to be?
For the start,
because also some time will pass, I think, in the future.
Yeah, so I'm totally chill with 16. I imagine her to be a little bit older than that, like closer to 18. But if we are talking about her initial presentation at court, if it had not been delayed, it would probably be around like 16 and a half. If it was delayed due to whatever, she might be 18, depending on marriage customs.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll just go with 16 for now, because I think a couple of years will pass in the future, probably. So, yeah, you're basically just coming of age right now, I will say. And so, yeah, you do essentially just speak with, like, your mother one day, and she will tell you, Cassandra, you will be coming of age, and there will be a presentation, a banquet in your honor. So I want you to be prepared for this. Do you have any sort of talents you'd like to show, to sing, to make a impression?
I mean, I haven't thought much about it, Mother. Perhaps I could sing if I must. Is it required of me to present myself like that?
No, it's not required to do any one thing, my dear. Just you want to make a good impression and be comfortable. If you do have any talents you feel like sharing, please tell me and I will help you prepare. But it will be
Okay.
in a few days. I just wanted you to know.
Okay. Um. Uh. I think I might sing then. I
Lovely.
My singing and dancing lessons have been going well as of late, and um, there's actually a particular ballad that I was reading about. I was actually reading the lyrics in the library just last week, and it's really pretty. Um, and of course, it's in a lost tongue,
Excellent.
so
Excellent.
that, like, we don't know the exact translation, but it's really pretty. And
Delightful. Well, I would be very honored to hear it and await the day. Are you practiced yet?
I've mostly just read through the lyrics. Um, there's not much notation for the music. Perhaps my tutor or my dancing teacher can help.
Yes, I shall arrange it at once. Should you practice today?
I think I'll go get it now, actually. I haven't read through it in a couple of days.
Very good. I will have one of the servants await you at your quarters.
Okay, thank you.
She'll kiss you and whatever, and curtsy and be off. Go find some servants who are particularly musically inclined, gift of their voices. Which, might be a hard ask. But you're super excited to do that. So I don't know. Do you want to go find that song? Do you have a song that you actually want to sing?
Um, do we actually want to try my morning voice singing talents? Not
It's up to
particularly.
you.
Um,
Yeah.
theoretically, I would like if we want, I will totally find an interesting bardic for this. Because that's totally up my alley. If you cannot hear my morning voice right now, though, I'm not going to be good at singing right now, and I don't have anything
Here.
particularly prepared. I imagine it to be an older ballad from like some like not quite completely forgotten language, of course, but kind of like when people translate Egyptian, and it's just like it does not sound as pretty. There aren't a ton like the older like scripts. We don't necessarily have people that are entirely fluent or like just it's
That sounds awesome. I mean, honestly, we should do a little research if you want.
that can be really
If
fun.
you want. But I
I'd
mean,
probably honestly like personally would be my fascination with Gaelic. I love Gaelic songs. I do
that's
not
what I was gonna
speak
say.
Gaelic
That make a lot of sense
specifically,
here.
so that's how I understand it. I imagine it similar to be Gaelic, where it's something that I personally don't understand and nobody around me understands. It doesn't mean that it's a lost language and that people don't speak it, um, but I don't know what it means. It just sounds really damn pretty.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we can role play some practicing, and you can probably have some little research if you do you have a desktop
I
handy?
mean, yes,
Yeah.
I literally just got two calls on Discord, and while we're talking, I am typing with one hand, telling them I'm busy. So yes, I
Yeah.
have a desktop.
If you want to look up a Gaelic song, and we can practice it if you want. Otherwise, we can not do that. It's up to you.
um, I think I'll probably find it on my own terms, so I can like listen to them and then sing it to you, or send it to you more than likely, because it's
Okay.
Gaelic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be cool. Um, well, the plan is to do you know, the presentation, the
Oh,
presenting
this
banquet
session? Okay.
next. So,
That's fair. In that case, let me take an earbud out and sort through some songs. Like,
yeah.
That'll do nicely. Aren't we lucky I found that in one go? That's for you. The problem is that we haven't figured out how to play it over Skype, right? So I'm not sure how we can like both listen to it simultaneously because I can play this on my desktop.
Tell me what it's called.
I just sent you the YouTube link via Discord.
Oh, perfect.
Even better. And granted, I've only listened to the first maybe 20, 30 seconds of the song, but it hits the vibe, so we're good.
Heck yeah. Dude, I'm excited.
While looking for songs we don't understand.
Hey, well.
It purdy.
That is pretty. I mean, honestly, if we just do like the first part or something. Okay, I'll keep you cued in here though. You know, when you go back to your quarters, your mother is there with a strange young boy. But she says to you, I found someone excellent for you, better at least than our typical servants. This is a shepherd from the lands. He's a nice boy. You two practice your singing well. And she'll leave you guys. And yeah, this young boy will just kind of stand there awkwardly, you know, with his blonde hair, scruffily. Got like dirt on his clothes.
She takes us the smallest of curtsies. Greetings, and what's your name?
Hello, Madam Shepherd.
Adam. Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Adam the Shepherd. Do you have any formal musical training?
Of course, Princess Cassandra. No, just whistling to the sheep, really. Others say I sound okay. I don't know why chose me.
Well, I have had some classical training. My music and dancing teacher has taught me much. She pulls out this old scroll covered in Gaelic and notation. It's musical notation, which I'm not sure he would have ever seen. Musical notation and Gaelic. This is the song that I'll be singing. I've hummed it a little bit. Let me get my harp. I don't know if it would actually be a harp. Probably a lyre, something to pluck at to get the tune. So she grabs this essentially a lap harp, and sits down and invites him. Sit next to me.
Thank you.
And she starts plucking out this tune a bit, while they're figuring out because the notation isn't that great. It's not ideal notation, and she starts kind of like humming the tune as she kind of like plucks it out, to fit it with the words. Is he just sitting next to me, just kind of watching me do this?
Yeah, he's just gonna listen awkwardly for a second. He's gonna be like, "I'm sorry, I can't read." But once you start playing, he like definitely listens. Here, actually, 1 second, I want to grab something. Okay. Yo, I'm sorry if that was loud on my door.
Oh, you're fine. I discovered my tea. I wasn't paying attention. Yes. Yes.
It's incredibly hard to tune, though. I've been trying to tune this for days.
Oof.
I could tune it, but it won't keep it tuned, so
I
have to figure that out. But yes.
That's exactly that's what I'm thinking of. It's kind of a little lap harp. That she's probably like, kind of like how I know how to play the ukulele, which is like just enough to maybe sound something out, but not really enough to actually say that I can play the ukulele,
Yeah, find a couple notes and We'll start singing around there. Makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this song real quick here.
Oh, please do.
Pretend this is kind of what you're playing.
Yeah, we're gonna try and figure out. I haven't heard the rest of the song.
Irigata mahoe. Irigata. Irabata nahoe. Something like that. I cannot speak this language, but I've heard this tune as well. It is a good one. You sound well.
Why, thank you. It is an older one. I do not know the translation myself, but I find the sound of the words in my mouth are wonderful. I think it sounds beautiful.
What is the title?
Sorry about that, I believe.
You don't know what it means.
I'm afraid I do not. I believe it to be a lullaby, but none of my teachers know the language, so I'm not able to translate it.
It's most important that you know how it feels to you. If it's a lullaby, you'll sound great. I'd love to hear you try it.
Thank you, Adam the Shepherd. And
What's that?
I appreciate your help. By the way, you sure can keep a tune. I am not going to sing in my morning voice. I am so sorry. But Cassie will proceed. This is a song that she's personally studied a little bit, where like she's read through all the lyrics, and so she's like she knows most how to pronunciate everything. So she's mostly just plucking out the tune as she figures out the cadence of the words. And she manages to get. I'd imagine she'd manage to get to the whole thing. I can make a performance check if you'd like me to.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a 10 on the die.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, you did pretty well. He says, he gives you a few other pointers. I'll say, something useful. You guys, have your session. And
is he actually useful then?
He is. We'll say he's like naturally gifted. He doesn't like know theory or anything, so he can help you a little bit. Like,
Okay.
You guys can sing together and essentially just like perform together, and that in itself kind of gives you some benefit.
Someone to bounce the pronunciation off of, I suppose.
Yeah, he actually does know a little bit of the pronunciation. He knows this song just by having heard it, not ever by studying or anything like that. So he's heard a lot of the way other people say it as well, perhaps more than you. So perhaps you learn a few things that you think are probably the correct way of saying things. But that's about it. So you do improve a little bit overall, I'll say, and you feel good about singing it at the show, at the banquet, as it were. But yeah, anything else you'd want to do before? Probably we're going to do the presentation part next.
Cassie would be extremely nervous. But she has been preparing for this day for the last half of her life. So she's going to try not to think about it, and we can move and kind of just like go straight to bed kind of thing. Like where like you're so anxious about something, you're just like, there's nothing more I can really do to prep for this. I just need to sleep and forget about it and then do it tomorrow. So I think we can just move straight forward.
Yeah, perfect. So let's see here. Yeah, basically, there will be this large feast in honor of the suitors coming of age and the ladies, yourself being a very key figure in this. As you say, you're quite nervous. There are a couple of other girls from Riversdale, and there's people from a neighboring kingdom that will be arriving. But these other girls are like daughters of knights, not like yourself, a princess. What's that?
It's held in Riversdale. I'm not being taken to the Pale or anything. Okay.
Yeah, it's just another kingdom's coming over from what you've gathered. So yeah, essentially, that is what happens. Find set order. I mean, I guess it's going to be in the Great Hall. The wooden castle is being prepared. There's like this 20-foot by 60-foot hall where you guys set up a great feasting table, like 3 tables around to create like kind of a center stage, as it were. And people, you see servants who are preparing food throughout the day. Um, you've heard talk of the purpose of these meetings for good relations, to arrange marriages, to further peace treaties and trade arrangements. And yeah, basically, let's see.
I imagine that Cassie would make herself busy the entire day while she's watching preparations. Um, Audrey would help out with things. I don't think Cassie would. I think Cassie would fuss over like her dress, and like go over her manners and her notes, and like have like probably like has like the guest list and is trying to memorize everybody's names, so that she doesn't embarrass herself.
Yeah,
And
if you do
that kind
try
of
to
thing.
learn of the guests, I will tell you that it's basically the royalty of Redland is coming, the neighboring kingdom, which you know a bit of from geography, and basically the king Norwin and his son, who's going to be a important suitor, is similarly named as Nerwin. So you think that's a funny name, but
Prince Nerwin.
apparently
Okay.
apparently a big deal.
Do
That's
I
about all you
would
know.
I know would I know of any like sorry, there's okay, my cords are getting tangled. Um would I know of any like existing treaties or what's the word? Plans to make treaties, like when I see this name, am I just gonna like know off about like, oh yeah, okay, this is probably the person that's I really need to look out for, probably make a good impression on. This is probably the person, or is it just like, okay, this very good candidate, moving on.
Um, he
I also
definitely
can just not
seemed
know. You don't have to tell me.
um like in general, I wouldn't say like a ton, but it does seem like Redland is a very important, uh, like politically, or just like relations. So like definitely, your father, or rather, your dad, the king, and your mother and everybody, they, think it's going to be very important. So they're taking it seriously. Seems like a big deal. The Redland, especially, want to make a good impression. So essentially what happens is, there's some fanfare. You see as through the gates, the procession of knights and red-clad royalty arrive, which is these people from Redland, the king and the prince and knights and others. Uh, not a large crew, maybe 10 to 15 company. And this is actually the meeting plan. So it's just the two kingdoms at a small feast, and presentation ceremony. So you guys do come into the main hall with the large chandeliers. Everybody greets. The king announces them. If there's anything you want to do, as you guys are all shuffling around, and the king is like, welcome to our land. Pleased you have arrived safely. All right, your dad, Raymond.
I think I'm gonna a deep curtsy to them. Have I met them before? I don't
No.
think I. No, okay. In which case, like, the pleasure is mine. Can and bow to them, keeping an eye out specifically for the prince. I wouldn't have had photos, so I'm trying to pick out the prince.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not too hard to pick out the king and the prince. The procession is definitely led by like basically like people with trumpets kind of announcing them, and kind of like a herald, a couple knights on horseback, and there's definitely the king and the prince, who are dressed very finely in royal blue robes and golden crown, and there's a couple more knights who follow them up. But yeah, you can see Nerwin and Norwin, the great king. He's this old gray man. He seems a bit younger than actually your king, but they're both quite old and gray. There is his son, Nerwin, who they both have kind of large, funny noses. They're kind of, I don't know, they're kind of short. You notice they're not particularly like, you don't think he's super attractive or anything, but he's very finely kept. So he does seem attractive in that manner.
He's
A
Prince.
wealthy guy. But he's kind of off-putting. It seems like his name, Nerwin. It's like never heard a name like that. It sounds kind of like a doofus.
Sounds like he has a big nose and an accent. Like, yeah.
He,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. If you want to like try to talk to him or something, they do approach the king, and you are standing nearby, so they come within close proximity.
I think it would be proper manners to be standing by my father's side, and probably be introduced. If not, I would probably wait until the banquet when I'm actually like introduced, because theoretically me coming, like, this whole party is me being introduced to them. Like, that's kind of the point of the party.
Yes.
And
Even so, you guys will be briefly introduced here.
yes.
They'll just point out, of course, the king will say, "Welcome, King Norwin of Redland. You are most welcome here as our gracious guests. You shall enjoy our feast, and of course be welcome to stay and depart in the morning, and we shall have many talks." And he says, "Of course, Prince Norwin," and he will point out the Princess Cassandra and several others. And basically, there's a moment here if you want to do anything.
Um, I think she's going to look at Prince Nerwin, um, and she's already been like formally introduced by her father. And if there is a pause, she's like, the pleasure is mine, Prince Nerwin. I hope that your travels have been safe. Just kind of like a very, not cold, but a very detached greeting as she tries her best to read him, and his intention. Can I make an insight check?
Sure, yeah. I'll say as well that he has like kind of like a smug grin. He like bows, says, "The pleasure is mine, princess." Cassandra.
I got a 12 on the die. I'm trying to discern how excited he is to be here, and kind of just like the dynamic of why he's here, I guess, because like we both know that we're here for a presentation, meaning that our fathers will probably be talking about us probably getting married, and like we're both probably very aware of this, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
discern like just how he feels about it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Specifically, just the young prince.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, you have pretty good insight, so I'll tell you. He's similarly to you. He seems like a little bit unsure. He's like kind of nervous. He does seem, generally okay with everything though. He's like kind of happy, kind of excited. I wouldn't say overly excited, kind of just like an acceptable uh, mix of
This is
nervousness and excitement. He kind of thinks he kind of thinks you're pretty. It would seem he's happy that you've spoken to him as well. So it's like seems to be smiling now.
okay. We chill. We were both raised for this. We've, born and bred for it.
Yeah. Um, you know, I will say as well, initially you definitely got like the impression that he's like just kind of not super nice, but once you actually spoke to him, he seems happy now. He seems like genuinely like, uh, somewhat pleasant, somewhat happy.
My
Um,
hope has been restored.
his father seems very stern. In contrast, next to him, he's welcoming, and he's he's just got a serious look about him. But his son seems a little bit happy now that you guys have greeted. He'll perhaps try to take your hand and like
Oh yeah,
uh,
he's of course allowed to kiss my hand.
he'll give you a
That's
kiss on the hand, and you guys will go into the banquet and everything. Take your seats. Um, so I mean, yeah, basically you can choose where you want to sit in a sense if you want to sit near the prince or not. Otherwise, you're going to be well. Actually, you're going to sit next to the king probably.
yeah.
So you might have a choice between one of two places, kind of. If you want to sit
So
next to Nerwin or not
Probably,
spoilers.
probably like my mom. I'll probably
Yeah.
choose to sit next to Prince Nerwin, knowing that like we're probably going to be seeing a bit of each other, regardless of what our fathers talk about. And it's also good to have good relations with local royalty. And I know my father's taken over with the other king, and that it's good for us to have relations. So I'd like to build a good rapport. That said, she's shaking in her boots. Um, very, very, very scared. um, uh, but like if she is already like in most of her court attire, she'll sit down between her father and the prince. I guess she's gonna try and start a conversation.
Oh yeah, trying to talk to Nerwin. What are you gonna say?
I hope your travels were well. Are the roads good this time of year?
The travels through the fields were quite easy. Thank you, ma'am. My lady. I hope your weather and life here has been fine as well.
Yes, of course. The weather is always seems to always be fine here, even in the winter months. Though I may just be partial to a pretty view. What is the view like at your place of residence? I assume I have never been all the way there.
In Redland Castle. Yes, the keep is great. The walls are grand, and Fire Mountain hangs above us like a smoke, like a threat of war on the horizon. It is a somewhat peaceful land, but beyond the Fire Mountain, the elves rage against us. It is a rough land,
Of
but the
course,
people
that
are quite pleasant.
as as I'm sure they are. The threat of war is always darkening. I find hope and beauty in nature, though, even when times are hard, especially with our political enemies these days.
Yes, of course. As my father would say, we need a strong army to protect such beautiful nature, such as yourself.
Wait, thank you, Prince. Oh, wonderful! The cook has made one of my favorites. You must try this pudding. And I know it's a little bit early, but we can be a little bit mischievous here. It's actually nutmeg, so it's a little bit savory, but it's very sweet, so it's not quite a dessert, but it is my absolute favorite and has been since childhood. You simply must try it.
Interesting. He'll definitely try your dessert. He doesn't seem to like it though. He's like, oh, he's like,
A
yeah,
little
thank
strong.
you, princess.
It's the,
Mm,
it's the cinnamon
um,
family. Like it's gonna be like a very acquired, strong taste.
that's yeah. I don't know if we invest in such spices in my land. But yeah, there's definitely this large chandelier that hangs over the dance floor and the tables. As I said, there's great stuffed birds, sliced vegetables that have been brought out, pots of stew, fruits, cheeses, fine wines, ales, fresh juice, and spring water, all awaiting new guests. As the grand feast start, there's actually a band that starts to begin as well, and lutes and horns begin to play familiar tunes of Riversdale. Um, and basically, King Raymond also announces, like, clanging on his glass, um, poorly. There, he's pleased that everyone could travel here safely. I hope you enjoy yourselves and rest well and enjoy the feast. We can, of course, mingle and depart in the morning as you see fit, and rest here in the guest chambers. Let us talk and be merry in these times of hopeful prosperity. He'll raise his glass to everyone. Everybody kind of cheers, and the band kind of strikes up louder, and the feast just kind of continues. Uh, the music kind of delights everyone. Uh, Anything else you want to kind of get up to at the party? I will say that kind of the King of Redland has set kind of nearby the king on the opposite far side, and he will actually call his son over away from you, from where he's sitting currently, to come sit on the far side of him. So I'm sure you guys will talk more later, but he kind of leaves and bows to you as he says, I must depart.
It was lovely speaking with you. I hope we can speak again soon.
I'm sure. Sure.
All manners. All manners.
Yeah, I'll say, kind of as the prince walks down, he kind of like, hey, you hear him kind of speaking to some of the musicians in the band performing, and they start playing a different song that you haven't really heard before. It kind of in contrast to kind of like these simple kind of pastoral farming tunes that are common in Riversdale. He plays more like a kind of up tempo, like almost like a battle march song kind of ensues. So it gets a little bit intense in the crowd, just a little bit. But yeah, um, the party kind of continues. Anything else you are trying to do? Oh, there might be the chance for you to sing if you want to do a performance as well.
Yes, I believe that would probably be established on the itinerary. So, she's eating things very light and trying to kind of prep for her song. And now that she's not as engrossed with the prince since he's moved off, I think that she's going to, knowing that her father's not going to probably tell her a lot, she's not sure how much she's going to disclose of the discussions, whatever they may be, and whether or not they involve her.
Yeah, they're
She's
nearby. You can try to
Yeah, she's
overhear.
gonna try to either like listen in or at the very least kind of read facial expressions and try and guess how they're going. And then I assume probably very soon she'll be singing her song, which she's also probably. No, she'd probably just play it on her lyre.
Yeah. You just play the lyre, or your character would sing.
I'm
Sorry.
no. Cassie
Lyre and
would
her.
play and sing. Is what I'm
Okay.
saying. She probably wouldn't have gotten like a musician from the band to come up with it for her. She's probably playing and singing herself, just to
Yeah,
show
cool.
off how accomplished she is.
Delightful. Yeah, I mean, definitely I'll say, you kind of overhear them talking throughout the courses of Feast that, initially kind of just about trade deals, kind of boring talk of specific, trade arrangements, routes, and substances that are being traded, just like foods and, general things. But they also talk, a bit later on about, arranged marriages and, the prince and the princess, potentially Nerwin. These would strengthen all of our deals, and ensure, our friendship. And honestly, you also know that, um, Riversdale has been a little bit, feeling, attacks from, the elves, it would seem, and whatnot. So really, you guys, you know that the king Raymond wants some protection, so it's important to him in that sense to have Redland just like on his side. So they definitely talk about arranging you two, as you would have assumed. But that's about it. Talk about a lot of just pleasant stuff as well, just like making small talk amongst themselves and talking about the lands and the people. And you already know that there's some trouble about in Riversdale with the peasants. Redland seems to be doing prosperously and well, though, so you learn some about those lands. But that's about it. After that, basically the King Raymond. Well, your mom would come to you and ask if you're ready to sing, and then Raymond would announce it.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you do want to make your performance check and describe that however you want.
That's a 6 on the die. Oof.
Oh, feels bad.
Oh yeah. Do you know off the top of your head, looking because you have my stats? Do you know if I'd get any bonus to that? Because
So
like I
performance
can.
is charisma. You have an 8.
Mhm.
It's your natural, so you kind of not a bonus. Kind of
Okay.
that's the opposite of a bonus. So you'd maybe get like -1 or something, I believe, with an 8.
I feel like yeah, an 8 it's either a 0 or 1. So we're talking not great. I think that like they'd pull a stool out for her, so that she can like sit like to the side of the grand table so that the table can see her. And she'd sit down with her lyre, and I think like her lyre is in tune, kind of like it's just off tune
I
enough
have that
that like
lyre. I
yeah,
have that
like
one.
it sounds okay, but it Probably a little bit better than that. But it's just a
Yeah.
little bit off tune, enough that like it needs to be tuned. But like you can still like hear the music okay. So it's just a little bit dissonant. And then as she starts to sing, she's the same thing that happens to me, which is that her chest is gonna get so tight as she gets anxious. Not because like she's okay with people, but like as she's tumbling these things in her head, like, oh my gosh, like this is happening right now. Realizing like I guess that, like I might marry this man, I might not be home anymore. This is gonna make an impression on them. I'm, just like those, like it just kind of like congeals and gets gradually more catastrophic in her mind. The importance of this performance and this meeting, and the fact that she has nothing personally against the Prince Nerwin, but he also hasn't made a grand impression on her, and she's like, oh gosh, am I getting stuck like this? And so as she does, like her voice, which is, I believe, like my personal headcanon here, is that she's actually pretty good. She wouldn't have chosen it if it wasn't something that she was good at.
I feel
But
like she's naturally good, so she would do at least like mediocre, like a 10, but there would at least be a couple moments of like, oh, you
yeah,
made a mistake for sure.
there's definitely some like very obvious mistakes and quite a few smaller, not obvious mistakes. She knows she did a bad job, even if everyone only knows she did a mediocre job.
I have something to add before your song ends.
Yes, but she her voice just like tightens up. She doesn't quite hit all the notes correctly. The pronunciation just feels off, even for someone who doesn't hear it. It sounds weird. The song itself, you can tell it's pretty, but it's not going great. Go ahead.
Yeah, people, I say people are very interested at the beginning. They're very captivated, and then there's like a couple, just mistakes where they're like and as you described exactly, but also past what you've described now to the very end of the song, you're about done. You're kind of sweating. You're like, I
Oh gosh, make it
definitely have
end.
embarrassed myself. But you also, on top of all of this, feel this, it's like unpleasantly familiar feeling of this like magical sensation that's just bubbling up inside of you, and you are trying to contain it, but you're gonna have to make a will saving throw, or intelligence rather, and I think I'm gonna give you disadvantage just because
Because story,
you're
yeah.
not trained, and just because you're
Okay, she's
so
panicking.
nervous.
Immediate panic from me. Okay, it's a 15
Oh, nice.
and a natural 1.
Oh, disadvantage. Yes. So what happens? You cannot control this feeling as you just like let out the final note of this song and play your little loop bit, but you feel yourself almost channeling this magic as you have done a couple times before. This light illuminates the room in front of you, like kind of near the chandelier, the grand chandelier in the main room, kind of above you. You're in the center of the room, as it were, and everyone kind of gasps, and some people are like confused, some of them are delighted and kind of applause like, oh, this show. Others are like just like confused, like, what's going on, what is this, what's happening, some magic. Some become angry and suspicious over a couple seconds here, and some point at you and say, what has she done? You definitely hear like the word witch a couple times, and there's a general uproar. Anything you're gonna do in these couple seconds?
Fuck. That was the last note of her song, right?
Yeah, song's over. That was the great finale, as it were.
Okay. She is going to try and think fast here. If it's just like, or
There's only a couple people who are saying that sort of thing. Others are
yeah,
confused. Others are
if you're
angry
gonna be
or
nice,
like.
I think that they need an explanation. So she's gonna try and think on her feet here and come up with an explanation, which is that I believe it would probably be socially acceptable to have like powders that might explode, So I think she's going to like stand up.
You've heard of such things.
She's shaking. She is shaking. She's doing her best to hide it. She is shaking. And she's just like, you know, Thank you, everyone. That was fair duta, to send. And massive thank you to the herbalistic help that I received in order to,
Yeah, some people
like
still further
trying
gasp.
to,
There's
yeah,
generally
trying to
loud noises as
explain
well.
it,
Some
yeah, as
people
like,
hear you, some people don't.
we
One
made
or
the
two are
candles
perhaps like,
play.
so she admits it. She's a witch. Other, not everyone says something like this, but others are just like, what's going on? Eventually, it kind of quiets down, and I'll say that your mother will come get you and kind of take you away, at least to the outskirts of the party. Um, or back to your seat, but off the center stage. Is there anywhere specific you want to go?
I mean, to hide a deep dark hole and never come out again. Um,
Because you could. I mean, you can leave.
I don't think that it would my image isn't has to be restored. I cannot afford to ruin a marriage deal by accusations of magic. This will not do.
Yeah, you and your mom, I'll say, are kind of talking. She's like, okay,
I
let's sit you down.
I um I'm so sorry. I tried so hard. Uh I don't
Not now,
think
Cassandra. It's okay. Not at the.
um I think I must stay. Um Perhaps if they see me dancing, I oh gosh.
But yes, the party doesn't actually last too much longer. There's generally some commotion, and the king will eventually kind of make an announcement to everyone that the feast will be ending and we should go off to our quarters. And they'll show some people out to kind of the knight's quarters, which have been turned into a guest quarters. But you'll also, be taken back to your quarters with you know, your mom and your crew of, servants and everyone, the typical crew. So, it'll basically turn into night after that quite suddenly. And, if there's anything else you want to do in your room or just like before you get there.
um I think Cassandra would cry. Um, a lot.
In your room or before you get
Oh no 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 no. Probably a few tears shed as she's being ushered to her room. Complete breakdown once she's there. Um, she fully believes that she has ruined everything. Um, so she's going. I don't know if there's established like any specific gods that we worship. I feel like there is the word in
So yeah,
general.
the word is kind of God,
Okay, in
kind of
that case,
monotheism.
she will be kind of sobbing her eyes out, and she'll be praying in that kind of way where like she's not like on her knees saying a prayer as much as she is like, oh God, no, please, 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 oh God, no, I'm so sorry, as she cries.
Yeah.
She's not having a good night. I don't think she's probably like ushered her servants away. Like they've probably like undone her dress enough that she can get out of it herself. At this point, she sent them away so she could be alone, and she's just like draped over her bed, crying into a pillow, fully like still fully dressed in her court attire. Her hairpins are starting to fall out. Her hair is coming everywhere. She's actively wrinkling her dress, which she really shouldn't do. And is crying into a pillow.
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing else of note is going to happen tonight. So that's a great scene. Eventually you fall asleep. And in the morning, um, you're not too active probably, but you would at least hear the other party of Redland leaves in the morning, and kind of the estate is back to normal, as it were, for the time being. And your father does come to talk to you, or your dad rather, your daddy, yeah, the king, Raymond, and he kind of knocks at the door at first, and obviously you're gonna let him in because he's here now.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd probably would have barely undressed out of like I imagine slept in my ball gown. It's probably like crumpled on the floor in a corner. My bed is unmade. My hair is a mess. I'm probably like in a like a basic smock or tunic with like a shawl over my shoulders.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, being the king, honestly, he probably like knocks and lets himself in since
mhm.
servants around. But sorry to interrupt. Anything else you want to say?
Oh no, that's fine. Just trying the general disheveledness.
Yeah.
The point I'm getting
Um,
across.
so, he seems kind of solemn, his face, and he begins to talk to you, and he says, how are you doing, my dear? Are you okay?
I'm all right. Uh, I'm all right, Daddy.
Are you sure? You
No,
seem
but
strong.
I'll be all right eventually. I'm mostly I'm just worried. Um, is everything okay?
Well, no, things are not okay. I couldn't lie to you, Cassandra. This is quite bad for me. These things really shouldn't happen. It's this tricky fault of fate. I would say, what were you thinking? This is not what I wanted at all. He does seem to be quite mad, a little bit mad at least. He's not quick to anger. You never see him like even just a little bit mad. So it's a little bit like he seems mad to you, but in like overall people terms, he's pretty calm guy overall. Raymond, he's quite an agreeable guy. But he does say, it's not what he wanted. Why does it have to be this way? The rumors will spread too quickly to control now. Cassie.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't ask for it, Papa. I didn't. I'm so sorry. I tried so hard.
Cassie, you will not be safe. You will be punished as a witch. That can only mean sentence of death. I won't allow that to happen. I don't blame you at all, my dearest girl. Know this, I will always love you.
I think she's gonna try and hug him. I'm assuming they're kind of like sitting together on her bed. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I imagined. So I think she's gonna like lean towards him and try and give him a hug.
Yeah, it kind of seems like maybe you thought he was mad, but he's just so emotional. He goes on to say, like, he could not blame you, of course. He is sorry. He is so stressed and distant these years, but he will always love you. Just wants what is best for you. Unfortunately, that might not be with me at the castle, and it breaks my heart to lose you both. But what can I do? Can't change the laws of Farleon.
Not be at the Pale. The wooden castle is my home. Where would I go?
Think not of it, my dear. I'm sorry to trouble you with these worries. But no, I cannot pardon you. I fear these rumors will spread. I fear I cannot hide you away forever here, if such a time does come. And I fear it may soon. And I must protect you by other means. I just hope you're ready.
I'll do my best. I
Perhaps.
will. I, I will do whatever you tell me. Uh, Papa, I will do what needs to be done. You've taught me that.
He's definitely, he gets teary. He's like, perhaps we'll plan to take you somewhere safe. But it is not set in stone. Don't worry. I, but there is something else. Maybe I could say you got lost, or you ran away. You were always a troublemaker after all. Mike wipes a tear from his eye. This is the best I could do, but I will think on it a bit longer. Of course, I could send you with a. Anything else you want to say to him right now?
Um, no, probably just a bit more crying and probably another hug.
Yeah.
She's just realizing that like it's out of her hands at this point. She trusts her dad to take as good of care of her as she can. She's devastated and not a small amount of self-hate here. Um, Realizing that she's ruined things. Honestly, they needed
Oh,
that. They needed that, and she ruined it. It was directly her fault because of a personal failing of hers. She has possibly, like, she might have gotten people killed by not having an alliance. Like she's realizing and tossing it in her head, just like the implications of this, and trying to think like, would it be better if she became like a religious person, or like a religious sister, like essentially becoming a nun? Like,
like a nun.
would becoming a nun work? Like, would that be socially acceptable? Should she just like, should they fake her death? Should they just not technically fake her death? Like, what would be the best outcome for her kingdom? She's at this point in time, she is completely not thinking of herself at all, but simply the implication for her father, or for her dad, as she just realizes that she could have royally fucked him over, essentially.
When you guys definitely have like this long moments of just like hugging and crying together, and as I'll say, as you do though, suggest like faking your death, he will kind of have another smile and wipe away a tear and say, perhaps I shall think about that. He'll give a little giggle, laugh about it, and say, whatever it takes, you will be safe, my dear. But there is something else I've been meaning to talk to you about now. And with everything, well, if you are old enough now to be wed, then you are old enough to see this and know the truth. You must come with me. Of course, I'm sorry for worrying you, but I have no other choice at this point. He will kind of motion to you to lead you out of the castle. And
Yeah, she's gonna throw on a quick smock, and kind of gather her shawl around her shoulders and follow her father. She's still not put together. She's put together hers, like she had maybe like a few minutes while she got dressed.
Yeah.
Still very disruptive. Like, anybody could casually look at her and like, oh gosh, the princess had a hard night.
Yeah, your father looks okay. He got ready this morning, but that's okay.
He took care of himself.
Someone took care of him, it would seem, perhaps. But yeah, he leads you over essentially to, if you remember the map of the manor lands, it's kind of a pleasant morning. The sun is shining. It's a little bit before noon. It's a clear day, and there's a sweet scent in the air. But he leads you over to the Western Watchtower, which is off to the kind of the left side of the castle, and kind of waits for you at the door there. It says, well, I mean, as you approach him, he'll probably put a hand on your shoulder and say, like, I hope you're ready for this. You're a big girl now, right?
What is it, father? Just show me. What's going on?
This may be my last chance to show you this. So come with me now. He'll open the there's just like a wooden door to this watchtower, and inside there's a guard. There's like a knight just kind of standing around it on the bottom floor. And can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Oh, good. I was just gonna say there's there's a staircase that goes upwards, and like I said, there's a guard on duty inside. One above, you can kind of hear one up above, and there's just one in front of you. And you guys can all kind of squeeze in. It's not a big tower, but the three of you are on the bottom floor now. It's kind of this tapestry off in front of you and the staircase that goes up. And Raymond the King will kind of move this tapestry aside to reveal this hidden door behind, and getting some keys that the knight actually gives to him from a chest nearby. He opens it up and reveals like a spiral staircase that goes down. The king lights a torch, and you guys descend. Just the two of you. Yeah, you notice actually as well, there's this tapestry of the great lion kings of yesteryear, kind of the founders of Farleon proper, you've learned about. They're the great uniters of the land. But yeah, the stairs descend rapidly and dangerously, and it gets really dark. There's this secret dungeon below. There's a central pillar you descend around, and it's deep, without light, but that of the torch roaring with a powerful fire. Raymond the King holds beside you. There is a few other torches as you get down to the bottom floor. And anything you're gonna do as you're just kind of following here?
Her anxiety is no, not any particular actions, just as her she's scared now. She has really truly no idea what might be down here. And she is getting very scared about what her father is going to show her, and much anxiety, much fear.
Yeah. I guess kind of sensing this, he'll kind of put his arm around you and say, "'Tis time for you to see this. Everything will be okay, Cassie. But you must know the truth, as far as I know it as well." And as you get to the bottom, the hallway kind of turns around, revealing like this kind of row, this somewhat small room of dimly lit cells. It's like this prison, this dungeon underground. There's, there's like just the dim light of the torch flickering and like another torch nearby that's very dim. So there's some dimly lit cells that are all locked with iron bars. There's like this rugged stone floor and some wooden ramparts around that create the room. Some parts of it seem just kind of like dug out of dirt. There's a lot of dirt in the air, and it's, like I said, very dark and somewhat stagnant. So all the cells are empty. There's like 7 cells total, and except for one at the far end, the stone floors fold before the bars as you see light reflecting in the eyes of this crazed-looking man, stricken and sickly, looking cold as fog escapes his gaping mouth. When your eyes lock, he says, in his rags and misery, he seems somewhat excited as you guys are approaching. Says like, "Ah, welcome." Raymond kind of waits a few steps behind and kind of pushes you forward, as it were. Not You're still like 10 feet away from him though, and yeah, you kind of, if you look, you kind of notice a tear welling up in Raymond's eyes. Um, he kind of turns away.
Does she recognize this person?
You do not recognize him. It's definitely not the king. It's like this younger, kind of got long, blondish hair. Just kind of this. He's a human. He looks very skinny. You don't recognize him.
She's kind of been pushed forward. She's like, "Hello." She's like looking at her dad, like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
Yeah,
how?
as you kind of, I guess, kind of look in this confusion, the Raymond will inform you this was a captive of the raid over a year ago. We lost the true king, Leonard, our great love. We do not understand his motives, but he was a man dressed in an elven uniform. We have captured this prisoner. This is all we really know of that night. There is great mystery surrounding it still. But if you wish, I may speak with this crazed man. But be careful. It hurts me too much to speak with him any longer.
Uh, she, uh, she's gonna take a deep breath, and she's kind of just gonna take a step closer, trying to steel herself against what she might hear, realizing that he does look very mad. You said there's like fog like billowing out of his mouth.
It's kind of cold down here. And,
Okay.
there's a little bit just because of the cold.
Okay. A little bit less terrifying. Okay. Um,
Yeah, nothing
uh,
magical.
she's gonna step forward. Um, Hello.
Hey, what's going on? Nice to see you. Who are you?
I am Princess Cassandra.
Do you have anything for me? Some food. He looks, incredibly skinny, kind of in a bad way for sure. It's like stricken and sickly. His hands on the bars.
She glances at her father. I don't. I have a question though. My papa seems to think that you might know something about my father. What happened to the king? What happened to father?
King. Hopefully the druids have consumed him. No, I know not. Why would you ask me such foolishness?
You mean he may be alive?
I'm from the outer lands of the wood, young girl. The sacred echoes of dust. Can't you sense it on me?
I see you are quite filthy, but nothing more.
I am a wise sun and a morning cloud. You're nothing but the bloody king's blood. You have imprisoned us for ages. Don't speak to me this way. Fools. You'll pay. You'll pay for this, as well as you. Is that man?
Cassandra, lost for words. She's going to back away and kind of like grab her father's sleeve and just, I don't want to be here anymore.
He'll say, he'll nod at you and say, like, very well, Cassandra, let's go. And as you guys kind of make your way off, you kind of hear him screaming after you guys, like, I'm the sane version of man. You two are the murmblings of hobbits and death. What is true, mocking the very witchcraft that keeps you alive. And, guys ascend up the stairs, rather. Yeah, definitely, this crazy encounter leaves you a bit shaken. And, Raymond will say, I'm very sorry. We don't know much either, but I just wanted you to be fully informed of the full picture. I'm sorry to trouble you this way. Perhaps it was not right.
So father's really gone then?
This man, nothing he has said has informed us of our dear Lord Leonard, but it has only further confused things. I'm sorry.
What does he speak of? Magic that keeps us alive? Some kind of dust? Do you know what he speaks of? I assume someone's tried to find answers of some kind.
The ramblings of a crazed man. Initially, when we interrogated him, he made much more sense. He has always spoke, though, of these echoes of dust, and he claims to be a druid from the woods, but does not seem to be a magical man. As far as I can tell, we keep him alive merely to hope to learn more of Leonard, for it is really my last hope of keeping him here. But I know it is really a lost cause.
Cassie just kind of steel herself again. Well, thank you for showing me, Papa. I may not feel better for knowing, but I'm glad I know.
Right. I hope I've made the right decision. I love you, Cassie. Now go to your chambers. Be safe, and await further instructions from me. We must be cautious in this time.
Of course, Father. She's actually going to curtsy here, as she uses a formal farewell. As she retreats both physically and emotionally.
Yeah, he'll definitely give you a loving kiss. Feels very like a goodbye, but
Yeah,
You'll see each
feels
other
very
again
much
in a moment, probably. Or
feels
he
very
says
much
he'll
like a
come see you.
goodbye. So, um, you share a moment, but then very much a formal goodbye, and not I'm not emotionless. Quite the opposite. Kind of like when you're so full of emotion that formality is all that's keeping you together. Um,
Yeah.
so she's going to kind of go back to her room, trying to avoid people as she does, not really wanting to talk to anybody.
Yeah, and there's some
Um,
servants who your typical servants try to help you out, but you can usher them away upon
oh yeah.
insisting. So,
Um, I think she's gonna kind of plop down in her bed and have a solid think. Um, just like realizing like it, so like they didn't kill him then and there. Maybe he might have been taken, like maybe her father was taken alive, but something about druids consuming him is terrifying. Um, and she keeps having these dreams of him being imprisoned, and she keeps trying to dissuade herself that those are like very much just nightmares. That she'd rather him be dead than captured. But there is a part of her that wishes that he had been captured, so that there was some hope that he was still alive. And she doesn't know what she thinks anymore. She does know that the man downstairs is terrifying, and now she's probably going to have nightmares about him crawling out of the basement and attacking her, as you do. Um, but I think that she's probably going to get herself a bit more ready for the day and kind of like going through the motions, like when you're just like lost deep in thought and you just kind of dissociate from life. And so like she'll sit down at her vanity and she'll brush her hair, she'll get dressed in the rest of her clothes, she'll hang her ball dress, she'll like she's going through the motions of what she's supposed to do that morning, but she's very much lost in thought. And before she gets halfway to the task, before she realizes she's doing it, that she starts packing a bag. And she pauses halfway through. She like has this bag open, and it has like it's essentially it's a getaway bag. She has some dresses and an extra smock, a hairbrush. Like she started packing this bag even without thinking about it, while she's lost in thought. And she's already halfway done. She finishes it. Like, okay, I don't think I'll need this, but I guess I might as well. So she kind of packs a satchel of things, and sets it by her door. And she finds herself just kind of sitting in her room, staring out the window, just lost in the kind of thought where you've stopped thinking thoughts, where you're just mostly just lost in a roll of emotion, and your thoughts are no longer intelligible, they're just boiling. And honestly, if no one interrupts her, she'll probably sit like that for probably the rest of the day, for being honest. She's shaken.
Yeah, having dismissed all your servants, probably no one will interrupt you for a while until your dad, whenever he said he would come give you some instructions. Um, so really though, did you want to do anything else? You do have a lot of time just to yourself. Do you want to as well pack that information about the truth potion that you have?
Yeah, actually, that's something I was thinking that would probably go into her bag. Like she'd probably have like her sketchbook, probably the notes to the song she sang. Is probably contained in her sketchbook, but as
Maybe your
well
lyre.
as yeah, my lyre, this potion, probably some of the ingredients.
Yeah, you've got your
Um,
scroll, ingredients, and yeah, about it for the potion. But anything else, sorry?
no, I think that'd be it. Like she's packed most of her valuable possessions. Um, she might have like a couple small trinkets or pieces of jewelry that mean a lot to her, that she's kind of like preemptively grabbed. Maybe a necklace that her mother gave her when she turned 10. Like little things like that. Um, that mean a lot to her, that she wouldn't want to just leave here. Um, and just I don't know. I imagine like actually I'm imagining her sitting on her bed with her bag in her lap, just kind of staring at a wall. But that's the image that comes to mind while
Yeah.
she waits for her father.
So yeah, I'm going to essentially my plan here is to have your father talk to you at the beginning of next session. So we want to end the session this way. That's pretty fine. That was a fun session. Thanks for
It's a pretty solid ending. What the fuck, dude? What the fuck?
playing. Oh, what the fuck? I don't know. By the way, I love your rose or flowery headband.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully it was a fun session.
I
Good
mean,
job. You did great.
way to roll in Nat 1, like the most important performance of her life. What the?
Oh yeah, it was in that one. Oh yeah, that's why we had to have you do the magic right then.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely some large suspicion, especially amongst the Redland folk surrounding that incident.
I would have definitely imagined. I mean, there would not have been a worse time for that. I mean, Nat 1 was pretty poetic in that moment. It's like this is the worst time for something to happen. Like when every single eye in the Great
Yeah.
Hall is staring at her. Oh my gosh.
It's like, hey, thanks, Dice. That was the plot. Good job. You did the plot right.
My dice have been rolling horribly low. I've rolled so many nat ones. We've had 3 sessions, so many nat ones, and I appreciate them telling a story, but what the fuck?
It's funny because yeah, it definitely worked out. As a DM, I was like, oh, and then I'll have you roll, and I was like, wait, what if she like
What if I get a
gets a
nat
nat
20?
20?
Yeah, like
And I'm like, it's gonna have to be like still bad, but not
yeah.
ridiculously bad, you know?
I actually think that's something really interesting about like when to do checks because like if you have something that's essential to the plot, you got to make sure they're not rolling for it. Or you can say like, hey, something's going to happen. You get to roll for how bad it is. So if you
Yeah.
did roll in that 20, maybe you just start glowing a little bit. But like I think you have to think of it more in those terms of like
What I
hey, some
decided actually was
asset.
like,
Yeah.
if you succeed, you're gonna be able to essentially control this magic spell and put it where you want, but it still happens. So you can
Yeah, I
hide
like
it, but
that.
maybe a couple people still see it instead of everyone.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Like, okay, kind of like when you're like, okay, there's energy, I'm pointing it that way.
Yeah.
That would have made a lot of sense, yeah.
But it was just like, oh,
The entire
but
hall lights up around the chandelier. And oh, God.
that was a great song though. That was a good choice of song. I want to learn that song.
It's
I
so
want to learn the
pretty.
lyre. I actually went to medieval festival last time and I was like, I really want to be like a medieval musician. They had like all these
Yes.
wind instruments. It was so
Oh, they're so pretty. I'm personally fallen in love with like Viking music, but I went to Ren Fair last year. Um, in Lehigh. I went to Ren Fair and they had a bunch of like medieval style bands playing. And I
cool.
will say my biggest regret of that entire interaction was not buying their CD, which they did have for sale for like $10. It was ten
Yeah.
dollars, and I could have had their CD. It was the kind of music that
Oh,
like I just want to be wearing a long dress and be dancing with my hands up with someone wearing horns. Like it was like
oh, I have that.
oh, it was so good. And I regret not getting their CD and making
Spoilers.
finding.
I'm just kidding, not you. I was gonna say I've been buying a lot of like headgear for D&D in
Mm-hmm.
Skype. I have this one. Yeah. Ah. This
Yeah.
looks probably cooler with a wig too. So this is spoilers because you get to see part of my setup.
Oh, that's chill.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah. Oh gosh, the wind tossed hair on the side.
This should have been.
Beautiful.
This is the King of Redland.
Oh yeah.
Maybe this is what he looks like. I don't know.
We'll figure it
Probably.
out.
Maybe they have Viking. That's canon now. I'm just putting that in there.
Yep.
Redland,
Redlands are Vikings.
very much Viking. I mean, they are a war-centric society. So, as you
People.
probably could tell.
Yeah, just a little bit
Um.
there. Just a bit.
So, heck yeah. Thanks for playing.
I yeah, thank you. I gave me a bit to think about, and I enjoyed getting to play a very. I'm going to attempt. I'm if you have a minute to talk, that is, unless you need to go.
Do you want to talk about your character? Do you
Yeah.
want to record, or do you think we should stop it?
Oh, we can stop the recording, of course. We're just gonna be blabbing.